Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Muzea Sakaleji. The headlines. 14-month-old baby of LUSAKA'S MANDEVU compound goes missing without a trace. PF members of parliament challenge government to avail diversification plans for the mining sector. Zambia's founding father, KK, remembered. In international news, Congolese soldier killed at the border with Rwanda. And in sports, FIFA World Cup, Qatar prepares to host estimated 1 million fans. Join me with the details after this commercial. In other news, in detail, 41 residents of Lusaka's Livala South who built illegal structures at the railway reserve have appealed before the Lusaka High Court against a decision by the Planning Appeals Tribunal to order the local authority to proceed with the demolishment of their structures. In a notice of appeal filed in court, Emmanuel Sinkala, John Suwale, and 39 others have appealed against the whole judgment delivered by the tribunal in May 2022 that the structures built on the Zambia Railways and Njanje Commuters Reserve land in Livala to be demolished.
In May this year, the Lusaka Province Planning Appeals Tribunal granted the Lusaka City Council permission to proceed to demolish all illegal structures built by residents on the Zambia Railway Njanje Commuters Reserve land in Livala area. This was in a case where the residents were challenging the decision by the Lusaka City Council and Zambia Railway Limited to demolish structures at the Njanje Commuter Railway Reserve in Livala. And according to the tribunal judgment, the residents had no legal basis to claim ownership of the land as they never got permission from the local authority to build up the said structures. Unsatisfied with this ruling, the residents have gone back to court challenging the said judgment. Emmanuel Sinkala and John Suwale and 39 others have now rushed to the Lusaka High Court and appealed against the judgment and have cited Lusaka City Council and Zambia Railways Limited as the respondent respectively. According to a notice of appeal filed before court, the 41 residents state that the planning tribunal erred in both law and fact when it proceeded to order the demolition of houses in the absence of the enforcement notice being served on them, but based on what the tribunal referred to as alleged orders from the demolition issued by the Zambia Railway. The 41 appellants have also submitted before court that the tribunal erred both in law and fact when it found and held that they had no legal basis to claim ownership of the land and that the tribunal has no jurisdiction to determine ownership of the land to deal with the enforcement notices. The issue of these structures have continued to be a topic of discussion for the past months. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 14-month-old baby girl identified as Dorothy Msonda has been kidnapped from her house in Lusaka's Mandevu compound. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, a 22-year-old mother to the child, Grace Mumba, narrates that she left her baby sleeping at around 21 hours on Thursday night to go and buy a diaper from a nearby shop. Ms. Mumba says she found the child gone when she came back from the shop, where she was only gone for 5 minutes. But a neighbor whose identity has been withheld explains that she heard the child crying few minutes after two unidentified men came looking for Ms. Mumba while she was away at the shop, and suspect the two men might have been the kidnappers.
This is the cry of Grace Mumba, a 22-year-old mother of Lusaka's Mandevu compound, mourning the mysterious disappearance of a 1-year, 2-month-old baby, identified as Dorothy, from their house on the night of Thursday, 16th June 2022. Ms. Mumba explains to Camnet News that she lives alone in her house with her 2 children, stating that her firstborn was at her parents' house while she was with the youngest, when she decided to go and borrow diapers from a nearby shop around 21 hours, only to find her child, whom she had left sleeping, missing. How old? I'm 4 years. One of her neighbors explains that 2 men came looking for her during the time that she was at the shop, suspecting that they could be the kidnappers.
Grace. So pamene vanabwera nati Grace niuko kudoka amene kulira mwana nishi mwana alira mnyumba. But anila ila chaenda ku shop. So ndio pamene vanabwerera vazinguluka vakamba tunampeze Grace na kama nati do ya first ndio mwamene munkala Grace. Vanazinguluka futi nobwerera vanambo kamba panja. So ninamvera time panapita kwa 10 minutes mwana aleka kulira mnyumba. Naganiza chipenangu mwana yu akabwera. Nambo mvela mavoice ya banyamata bakamba tiboy tie nambo uza mnyamata amene nikala naye nati baoneka baenda na Grace abaperekeza balendo bake ni mwamene banaendera panapita chabe time ngono Grace abwana niko nkoshera ati banti ichokani nati ni chani ine ni dwala sinimvera bwino ati ya ichokani mwana banibera mnyumba.
Other neighbors have expressed the need for those living near each other to look out for each other's safety.
Because ngati munzanu pamene munkala munzanu sanga sowese mwana pamene munkala ni pamidadada singakane kuziva pamene mwana aso maona ka because munzanu ukapeza munzako anemba unapeza ndiye brulu wako because mwana sanga sove apa pani madoi nango sibangaziva ati mwana aso bwana singakane mvela muntatana segula na pani neba usingavela ati kunta segula mudo because 21 hours yane bakamba yo 21 hours yo kan 19 hours yane mukambanisha bantu bari kupitana pitana.
Others spoken to in the community have called for more police patrols to prevent such incidents.
So is this the first time in the recent past, Pamenapa, when such a thing has happened? Is it a new thing?
It's not a new thing because in a baba shop range na ma internet cafe vintu vibewa but apendepende kwa bao kamwana but na ma properties ya beo.
The whole community is awaiting to hear the outcome of the case, which has formally been reported at Mandevu Police Post, stating that such crimes are alien to the community. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A 22-year-old resident of Mumba district in Central Province, identified as Gift Piri, is nursing a gunshot wound at his home after he was allegedly shot by a police officer. Mr. Piri has told Camnet News that the officer who shot him while mining gold was instructed by management of Ozone Mining, a company operating locally. Meanwhile, the residents have complained that the process of getting mining licenses is complicated, hence opting to scavenge from the minerals as a means of survival. But when contacted for a comment, Ozone Mining Chief Mining Officer Rafik Dasu has dismissed all allegations, stating that the company stands ready to have a separate test conducted to determine if it was a gunshot wound that hurt Mr. Piri.
We are here at Stephen Mwaza village in Mumba district, and we're just from paying a visit to Mr. Gift Piri, who is a victim of an alleged shooting done by Ozone Mining here about 3 weeks ago in Mumba district. Now, the situation here in Mumba district is that the land is rich in gold, but the locals here say they do not have mining licenses. This is due to the lengthy procedure of actually acquiring mining licenses. On the other hand, the locals say non-Zambian nationals have been given mining licenses, and so they feel this has actually pushed them to go into illegal mining. So Mr. Piri narrates that it was about 3 weeks ago when he was on the mining land of Ozone Mining that he was allegedly shot. Now, according to him, a man identified as Mr. Patel, who is a supervisor at Ozone Mining, in the presence of Zambia police, actually came and approached those who were actually conducting illegal mining. And instead of just chasing them away, he was allegedly shot by the Zambia police. And Mr. Piri has actually explained to us that the company, which is Ozone Mining, actually denied those allegations, stating that he was hit with a stick and not with the gun. The complaint now from Mr. Piri and his family is that those who shot him have gone scot-free and have continued doing business as usual. We talked to Mr. Piri. This is what he had to say.
Manapwera bafika yepi wana kambata ini futi amene alasa because banangana kumbuyo bangane kumbuyo mweyapita pa wanakambati ni bullet then banakamba kuti ati banapeza mochusi mkati napeza mochusi ndiye mwe wanapimira but bullet eve napita kusogoro kairi sheti na bwana vara kusogoro nzelibe mabatani.
The victim of the alleged shooting further narrates that while the bullet did not penetrate him, injury was done as indicated by local health facilities, who state that he will need further treatment as he is not able to get food treatment locally in Mumba district.
Treatment. Vuteni na mchesti na kuanja mshemushe si sevenza mshemushe.
His uncle, Mr. Lezani Banda, has also narrated the incident.
Vama bwera kuja so chabe vakankhala veka vakapokola vamba valipirisa chabe vaja watondo vasiya but akaona tu alina mwenye kuti vaone kuti vasevenza ndiye mwamene vimachitikira ipo ero mwamene wala Islamu ni pafupi naye sekuno kutoka kwao kulwire kuja ni kutali kumatala ni kutali but iseni hapa ni pafupi ni 500 meters ni stangena mumunda ero ni mu title deed mama enda chabe antadu bado waminyala isekuno vochita tilibe nchiti watu ni kudoba minyala so chabe kaidi mining yakuno.
One of the neighbors, Mr. Mubita, has actually alleged that police in this area, manning this area, are actually corrupt, claiming that they actually solicit for money from illegal miners if that to allow them to actually continue mining, and they're actually asking for official supervision on that. They want some inspections to be done to make sure that this is put to an end.
Kutilipisa ndrama, wakuzana tikumbani hapa, muzilipila ndrama yaso. So mukalipira ndrama hiyo pakapita chema days wakabloka kuja babwera bruto wena ngoma bwana wokolewa wakapokola nwanda wayo mfuti baliza chilize lizo lokumuchita oja mugaizi wana bwana wokolewa wakapokola mwayo.
Another local here identified as Beatrice Mutinta actually has also given a comment on the situation of miners here in this part of Mumbwa.
So chamene tipe mpako kulimwa baboma at least tuma cooperative tu atutuyankeni kuti tipeze ko malo pose benzera ndaba ivota bataba winangwa zaka mulasa zaka mushutira tumfuti azakafa.
Camnet News took a step further and visited Ozone Mining, and the supervisor, Mr. Patel, actually indicated that he was not the right person to comment on the matter and directed us to a man identified as Mr. Rafik Dasu, who has actually denied all allegations.
Yes, it's under exploration.
So do you just do mineral processing or do you...
We are not mining at all here. We are not mining. We are building up a plant here. We are waiting for the Ministry of Mines to approve our licenses. That is when we are going to start doing our operation. He ran away on his own. He went to the hospital. I don't know how the hospital has come up with this allegation of them saying that it's a bullet wound. When it's
Now, Camnet News at this point is actually trying to get in touch with the Zambia police to find out what has been done over the matter, because according to the affected, they have formally reported this at the local police station here, but according to them, nothing has been done. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Mumba district in Central Province.
The Lusaka Agrotech Institute has encouraged small-scale farmers in the country to consider adding value to their maize before selling in order to realize profit from their produce. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, organization's vice principal, Justin Mhango, says farmers should understand that government is not the only market for their grain and says if they are not satisfied with the recent grain price announced by the government, they should add value to their grain. Meanwhile, opposition Patriotic Front Kasenengwa constituency member of parliament Philemon Twasa says the current administration has betrayed the Zambian people whom they promised they would be buying a 50-kilogram bag of white maize at 250 kwacha.
Several stakeholders have reacted to the Food Reserve Agency FRA price fixed in the purchase of maize, soybeans and paddy rice, saying that it is unsustainable for the local small-scale farmers considering the high cost of producing the same products. Speaking to this Camnet TV reporter, the Lusaka Agrotech Institute, through its representative Justin Mhango, says small-scale farmers should not feel limited to selling their farming produce to government alone, adding that there are other alternative buyers that individual farmers can use. Mr. Mhango has since urged farmers to desist from selling maize as a final product, adding that they should consider adding value to their produce, saying that maize byproducts like mealie meal, stock feed and sample, among others, have the potential to attract a more commercial and international market.
May not be sustainable for most of the small-scale farmers, looking at the challenges that the farmers went through in producing this maize because of the hikes in the fuel prices, the droughts and the floods. Lusaka Agrotech Institute, we feel that small-scale farmers can generate more revenues if they added value to their maize.
Meanwhile, commenting on the same matter, the opposition Patriotic Front Kasenengwa member of parliament Philemon Twasa says the United Party for National Development Party, whilst in opposition, had made promises to increase the buying price of maize by the FRA to 250 kwacha, and it was on the basis of those promises that they were put in power.
Between 200 and 250 kwacha per bag, a 50 kg bag of maize. And yesterday, FRA announced a price of 160 kwacha per 50 kg bag of maize. Now, how much damage and how much demoralization is this causing to a farmer? The people who are so excited, the people who went out in numbers voting for this government, and yet the government knew that they didn't mean what they said.
The Food Reserve Agency, at Thursday, 16 June 2022, set its maize purchasing for the 2022 grain marketing season at 160 kwacha per 50 kg bag of white maize, a 10 kwacha increment from last year's farming season, while soya beans has been set at 550 kwacha from the previous 500 kwacha, and paddy rice going at 200 kwacha from the previous 195 kwacha. Messi Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Opposition members of parliament have charged that the cost of living in Zambia will not reduce under the current administration, citing that the reduction in annual inflation rate has not been reflecting in the prices of commodities. Speaking during a media briefing at Parliament Friday, leader of the opposition, Brian Mundubile, says the current administration should clearly state what plans it has to diversify the mining sector away from copper production so as to revamp the economy. Meanwhile, Shiwangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo says reports that former Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ Chairperson Justice Esau Chulu, is under threat is disappointing, stating that he deserves to retire in peace.
Opposition members of parliament have vowed that they will not relent on offering checks and balances to the current administration to ensure that it fulfills what it promised to the Zambian people. Speaking during their weekly press briefing at Parliament grounds Friday, Shiwangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo has called on the current administration to ensure that economic policies have an effect on the cost of living. Mr. Kampyongo states that despite the inflation in the country being reduced, it has not trickled down to the common man. He has also warned against arresting former Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ Chairperson Justice Esau Chulu, stating that he was a man of integrity.
So meaning, As the high cost of living is escalating, your salaries will still be the same. What is reducing is the buying power of your salaries. You remember that? I'm sure you are all still energetic to have those sharp memories to remember that.
Meanwhile, leader of the opposition in Parliament and Porokoso MP, Brian Munduwile, along other parliamentarians, have challenged the current administration to explain how it plans to diversify Zambian mining sector.
We all know and agree that the copper mining has been very, very hectic and has not benefited us. Up to now, we are still going through a lot of challenges. There were issues that were talked about regarding diversification, to talk about gold, talk about manganese, and many other minerals. We expected the minister to address those particular issues comprehensively so that we know where the UPND government wants to take the mining sector.
Meanwhile, Luto MP Mutoto Kafwaya has also added his voice.
Now, the question that I would like to ask our Honourable the Vice President is that, suppose the inflation stood at 10 and the prices of fuel are at 25 kwacha as they are now, and the milling is 180 as it is now, and the salt is as expensive as it is, fertilizer is as expensive as it is she happy?
Lumenzi Independent Munia Zulu has also spoken out, charging that the current Speaker of the National Assembly, Nelly Muti, is sidelining independent MPs as she is not according them equal chance to express themselves in their house.
Now, I have written a letter. Strange. I'm complaining against her and I've written the letter to her. But I must put it on record that I'm not an orphan. My mother is alive and well. My father is alive and well. I shall not be treated as an orphan for being in Parliament. Previously, she issued a strong warning that don't blame me if I don't pick on you. And today, earlier, she submitted that I don't favor. It's too explicit. You can tell that she's taken a position.
The MPs have also touched on the Constituency Development Fund CDF, stating that it is unfortunate that most MPs from the ruling party did not vote for the process to be made easy in Parliament. Mercy Chanka reporting for Camnet TV News.
In other news, late First Republican President Kenneth Kaunda's son, Colonel Panjin Kaunda, says more books must be written to highlight the role the freedom fighters played with his father, Dr. Kaunda, so that future generations can lend their sacrifices many decades from now. Speaking during the first memorial church service for Dr. Kaunda, held at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross in Lusaka, Colonel Kaunda described his late father as an African icon who fought for the Zambian people. Meanwhile, Council of Churches in Zambia General Secretary Father Manuel Chikoya has described the late Dr. Kaunda as a true Pan-Africanist who set out to build a united nation despite the diversity Zambia has. And speaking at the same event, Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema says Zambia's founding father Kenneth Kaunda was a visionary and selfless leader who left the African continent with many lessons on national unity, development and prosperity.
In fact, almost all the young men are in the world. The great professional young men from the press, from Zambia, the professors in that team, the well-balanced team, the gender sensitive, the models, and all of them. So the country is going in the right way. You think that this president, we rest in peace. We are going to enjoy our stay here. Because this country is now going to take to ourselves.
From the northern part of the country, in other parts of the country where coffee was not known, was not produced. Coffee was for asphalt, tea was for asphalt, cattle was for asphalt. This is it. Great indeed. Education. Some of us went to school.
We sincerely apologize for that. Moving on to our next news, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema described the debt situation in the country as a python that continues to strangle the country, but confident that it will be addressed soon. Speaking in a delegation from China led by Director General of For African Affairs Wu Peng Pedekere at State House Friday afternoon, President Hichilema discussed the importance of the two countries fostering better ties overall and how to resolve the debt issue. Meanwhile, Director General of African Affairs Wu Peng has appealed to the International Monetary Fund to act quickly and give Zambia the $1.4 million United States bailout.
President Xi Jinping yesterday, the meeting took place, and I understand it was fully subscribed in terms of the various creditors, and China and France co-chaired that meeting. I'm yet to receive a brief, but that's a major milestone for us, and we would like him to pass the message to President Xi Jinping to thank him most dearly for this gesture. It is important that for us that we unlock the debt situation, because it's like a python. And I don't know if I knew Chinese, I would use the Chinese language of a python, that big snake which creeps and swallows things. So that debt is really, strangling us. And the quicker we resolve that issue and release revenues towards the development expenditure as opposed to the usual cost around that, which to our able to do things as an economy, the better. So, as you rightly said, Director General, and we appreciate that China will be supportive, continue to be supportive of that process.
Chinese side is planning to strengthen bilateral strategic communication. Your Excellency, I must report one important issue to you. Yesterday, China and France act as co-chairs organized the first meeting of the Creditor Committee for Zambia under the common framework. We Chinese side also appeal for IMF's early approval and disbursement of the $1.4 billion ECF to Zambia.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Vice President Mutale Nalmango has condemned the behavior of the Zambian army officers seen in a video torturing 3 men suspected of insulting the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema. Responding to a question raised by Lunta Member of Parliament Mutowe Kafwaya, who wanted to find out why there has been silence from the President over the alleged torture, the Vice President says 2 wrongs do not make a right and that the conduct of the army officers should be condemned. Mrs. Nalmango says she is ashamed as a mother to see young men use derogatory language towards the President and that no one should be insulted regardless of their title or position in society.
16th June 2022, social media platforms were taken ablaze after a video of 3 young men being manhandled for insulting the President went viral. Lute constituency member of parliament Mtowe Kafwaya, during the question and answer session for the vice president, asked Her Honor to why there has been silence over the torturous behavior exhibited by the law enforcers towards the three men in a video circulating on social media.
Promised that he was going to rule this country by the application of the rule of law. The video we saw of the police brutality when arresting those youths in Luapula province is abhorred. Your Honor, the Vice President, my question is, why do you think the President is quiet?
Responding to the question, Her Honor the Vice President Mtalena Lumango stressed out the fact that two wrongs do not make a right. She says the police was wrong, so were the three young men, and that no one, regardless of their position in society, should be insulted in the manner the three young men did towards the President.
Nago said, yes, the law on defamation, let me speak, because you have said something that Zambians have seen on social media. Maybe you saw the beating and not the insults, Honorable. Maybe you saw the beating and not the insults, and I've stated two wrongs never make a right. That means even the beating is not okay. Two wrongs never make a right is a common saying.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Residents of Vubwi district in Eastern Province have challenged the government to work on the Chipata-Vubwi road, stating that many economic activities are suffering due to the deplorable state of the roads. And United Party for National Development UPND Secretary General Batuke Imenda, who visited the district, says he is equally disappointed with the state of the road, which has never been worked on by the previous administration. Mr. Imenda, who is in the district for a 3-day working visit, says he and his team had to go through Malawi to get to the district due to the poor state of the roads.
The poor state of roads in most rural parts of Zambia has continued to be a cause of concern, as this has also contributed to the underdevelopment of these parts of the country, as most economic activities need a good road network. Residents of Vubwi district in Eastern Province have therefore urged the current administration to prioritize the development of rural roads to spur development. They explain that bringing eco-development to all parts of the country will also be an honor to the country's fallen heroes who long to see Zambia developed. They were speaking when United Party for National Development UPND Secretary General Batuke Imenda visited the district. Meanwhile, Mr. Imenda says the state of the Chipata-Vubwi road is so dilapidated that they had to go through Malawi just to get to the district.
When we were coming here, the provincial chairman told me we cannot come straight in the road that's coming from Chipata to Vubwi. We had to pass through Malawi because the road was bad. Is that what you call development? So that's why my advice to you people of Eastern Province, please do not remain behind in the development that Hakainde is bringing. Today, as we are standing here on this bridge leading to Vubwi, we are not going to sleep until we find that this road is done.
Former Patriotic Front Member of Parliament Margaret Miti has also lamented the poor state of the bridge in Vubwi district, which connects to the main hospital, stating that this needs to be worked on soon.
The bridge is very old and it's weak. And as you can see, we've got a hospital the other side. So this is where the ambulance passes to take our patients from this side, taking them this side. And if there's a wide, because this road goes up to Chadizi. So on this same road where we are standing here, the former president has passed here in this same state the way it is. And it has still remained like this up to now.
The UPND is in the district for a 3-day working visit. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We'll take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
I've always been passionate about moving forward as fast as I could. Even as a child, all I ever wanted was to take first place at everything I put work towards. Whether I'm on the track or in the lecture room, my goal is to come out on top.
Growing up, we were always called Mafasho. You could say this paved the way for who we would become. We owe our success to our understanding of the power of storytelling, understanding what people connect to in order to give them what they desire.
We have always been passionate about people and honoring their stories. Our learning experience gave us the knowledge to channel our creativity into a business.
In order to start any successful journey, we must have a place to start. Even if that means we keep our mental image in focus, as we become the inevitable solution to society's inevitable problems.
Which is why we all start our journey here.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
On Monday, 20th June 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Honorable Elvis Nkandu, Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts. Don't miss as they discuss UPND 10 months of being in power.
As government through the ministry, we have demanded for a report from the service provider, and we need a refund and underline, because as we are not restive, and payment for expenses suffered.
Invite others to participate through phoning, on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On TSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome back. We'll continue with the rest of the news. Government says it has embarked on the development of the Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program CASP that seeks to improve agriculture extension delivery services to smallholder farmers across the country. Speaking during the launch of the National Special Data Set for Agriculture Blogs and Camps, Ministry of Agriculture Permanent Secretary Green Mbozi says the formulation and implementation of CASP should be echoed on the use of modern innovative tools such as special data in the delivery of extension packages to farmers and other stakeholders. Speaking at the same event, World Food Programme Deputy Country Director Jo Young Lee has assured Zambians of continued commitment to assist small-scale farmers in the country.
Smallholder farmers in Zambia are vulnerable to climate change-induced weather-related shocks such as floods, drought, and irregular rainfall. Government has since prompted the use of special data sets in determining payouts to farmers under the Agriculture Index Insurance Scheme. Through this, the agriculture sector devastating effects on climate change are addressed. Speaking during the launch of the National Special Data Set for Agriculture Blogs and Camp, Ministry of Agriculture Permanent Secretary Green Mbozo says the formulation and implementation of CASP should be anchored on the use of modern innovative tools.
The use of special data, which we are launching today, was key in the computation of the payout for the farmer. It is gratifying to note that with the help of cooperating partners, namely the World Food Programme, the World Bank, Polar Advisors, The Ministry of Agriculture is building internal capacity on use of special data to manage the agricultural index insurance system. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, going forward, the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, shall mainstream the use of special data in policies, programs, and activities that are being undertaken. As you are aware, government has embarked on the decentralization program, developing management and administrative functions from central to local level. In this case, therefore, the use of special data will be key in harmonizing and realigning boundary lines for prudent resource management, transparency, planning, and decision making. We need to utilize and employ every innovative tool to actualize the sales developmental goals.
And World Food Programme Deputy Country Director Jiang Li assured continued commitment to assist small-scale farmers in the country with new modalities.
To farmers. Honorable guests, let me take this opportunity to congratulate your ministry for this key achievement and mention that as the United Nations World Food Programme, we are honored and proud to have been part of this achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, global trends have shown an increase, evidence of increased vulnerabilities through the effects of climate change and other global challenges that threaten to push more people into food insecurity. And that is not an exception for Zambia. In Zambia as well, we see the increase and frequency of droughts and floods, as well as the rising costs of inputs that will continue to negatively affect food production. We therefore need to adopt new strategies and new technologies to mitigate these risks and transform agricultural services support to smaller farmers to increase their resilience and
Going forward, government through the Ministry of Agriculture will mainstream the use of spatial data policies, programs, and activities. Blessings Takwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation has underscored the need for schools to have adequate water supply and sanitation services. Speaking during the launch of the Battle of the Brains competition in Lusaka, Ministry Permanent Secretary Engineer Joe Kalusa says there is an urgent need to bring on board school-going children and other partners in ensuring that washing facilities in schools are taken care of. And National Water Supply and Sanitation Council NWASCO Executive Director Kelvin Chitumbo says the Battle of the Brains is a great opportunity for learners to know more about water-related issues.
Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation has stressed the need for schools to receive adequate water supply and sanitation services in order to improve the quality and standard of services for learners. Ministry Permanent Secretary Joe Kalusa has observed that most learners are vulnerable to the effects of inadequate water supply and sanitation, especially girls, due to their special needs. Speaking during the launch of the Battle of the Brains inter-schools competition in Lusaka for Lusaka province-based schools organized by National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, Mr. Kalusa says there is need to bring on board the school-going children as partners.
I feel that this brilliant initiative be continued as achieving this goal is not far-fetched. Before I conclude, allow me to commend Moscow for the Battle of the Brains in the Schools initiative. This is no mean achievement considering the COVID-19 challenges in the last 3 years. Allow me to express my gratitude to the Minister of General Education for authorizing the Provincial Education Office and the District Education Board, DIVERSIFICATION.
behalf by Ministry's Assistant Director, Smith Wewupe, Mr. Kamoko says children's satisfaction of their physiological and psychological needs and protection against infections depend on the way hygiene is promoted in their schools. He has thanked NWASCO for the initiative taken to create awareness on matters pertaining to water supply, sanitation, and hygiene through the Battle of the Brains Inter-Schools competition. Meanwhile, National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO Executive Director Kelvin Chitumbo says the Battle of the Brains competition will give an opportunity to learners to learn more about issues in the water sector. Mr. Chitumbo has since called on the cooperating partners to partner with the regulator in order to expand the competition countrywide.
The Brains competition is a competition among secondary schools in Lusaka. We have 16 secondary schools divided in four regions, so to say, and so they will battle it out in terms of the competition, and then the winner an award. So basically what we're trying to do is encourage people or learners to be interested in issues of water, sanitation and hygiene, so that we can possibly get them whilst they're young to get some interest in the sector. So basically
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
In other news, Chief Ishima of the Lunda-speaking people who has charged that lack of unity in all spheres of life is recipe for failure. Speaking at the handover of over 50 vehicles by Manegro Cooperative, the traditional leader notes that the cooperative, which is supplementing government's effort, had grown this far in just a year due to its core value of unity. Meanwhile, Chief Ishima also remembered Zambia's first Republican president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, whose memorial was held Friday. Chief Ishima described the late Dr. Kaunda as a patron of hard work and success which Manegro is championing. Meanwhile, Manegro chairperson Maiden Shula says Manegro is a homegrown cooperative that has many doors of a different investment, of which some will be strategically placed in chiefdoms aimed at elevating community members from the arms of poverty.
I uphold the board and management of Manegro for organizing fellow Zambians from all walks of life into this movement that is changing lives. Well done, Manegro. Well done. I'm truly expectant that under the new tone government of His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and in accordance with the wishes of our founding president, Zambia will emerge as a united nation, working towards prosperity. I'm calling on all Zambians everywhere to shun all manner of division and hatred and embrace national unity. I urge all well-meaning Zambians to frown upon anyone in whatever capacity who would want to propagate division and hatred of any kind in this nation. Unity is what will help us prosper as a nation.
With the presence of the Royal Highnesses here today, we are signifying the beginning of a very exciting phase. Exciting but very demanding. Some of you will be requested to be stationed in some of these chiefdoms to make sure that the services of Manegro and Christian business community, CBC, are taken to the all parts of Zambia, so that at the end of the day, a story shall be told that ordinary Zambians rose up, used their personal resources, their own resources, not foreign resources, but their own resources to rewrite the economic story of this country.
Free Press Initiative founder Joan Chira has implored musicians, comedians and other artists in Zambia to use their talents to fight climate change if the country is to attain its 2030 vision of combating climate change and its impacts. Speaking during the official opening of an orientation workshop for artists from 10 districts across the country, Ms. Chira says climate change must be fought from all levels, bringing the urban, rural, gender and youth divides. Meanwhile, Highville Country Engagement Manager under the Voice of Climate Change Project, William Chilufya, says the workshop will impact necessary knowledge in the artists to ensure that climate change messages reflect in their art.
Therefore, the FPI Kalemba Consortium, which has brought you together in this strategy, with support from users, is implementing a project called Strengthening Digital Media and Social Activism for Just Climate Action, a project that aims to strengthen the capacity of vulnerable communities to raise voices and duty bearers and decision makers on the effects of climate change on livelihood resilience and demand climate adaptation actions through the use of digital and physical spaces.
So on behalf of HCSB, we are very, privileged as an institution to deal or to work with the Free Press International and Kalemba to just ensure that we take our work to another level so that we truly influence processes to ensure that climate change is an issue that becomes a priority. Where you're coming from, colleagues, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about CDF, right? So a very good example in terms of how you can also influence. You see the CDF, HCSB has closely been working around that, especially in Ufunza and Chongwe. What we noticed that even yourselves here, if they're given an opportunity to be in a government committee, so what do you think about when you have been given might say, okay, plan for development in this area? Number one, what do you think about?
Residents of Rufunsa district in Lusaka province have appealed to the Road Development Agency to quickly work on the damaged portion of roads which has continued to claim lives. A resident, Boniface Ngoma, explains that 4 truck drivers' lives have been lost in the last few months due to accidents caused by the road. And Chintimbwe Ward Councillor Abra Malambo says she is concerned that the shop owners trading along the roads are trading in fear as they can be victims of the accident.
This is one among many damaged portions along the greatest road in Rufunsa district, where a lot of accidents happen, resulting in the loss of lives. Residents are now appealing to the Road Development Agency, RDA, to quickly work on this portion before many lives are lost.
This road, the way it is here, it's on a dangerous point, in such that when the vehicles are coming down the Manenekela, they sometimes lose brakes. And as they lose brakes with these potholes, no driver can maintain the road. Hence, we have experienced 4 accidents of trucks. But in the near future, if this continues, one day you'll find that all the marketplace here, children, we might be losing life from here. My appeal to RDA is that if they can quickly make this road smooth, then that would be much better.
Manje migodi amene yakuti uyabwera yangena yanyamuka iyenda kuko
siro
apo panafa umozi unango nabeukira ubusa na uyu anabeukira ukanafa manje apa mairo ni penze kumushika driver nafira pamina.
Chintimbwe Ward Councillor Abraham Malambo is equally concerned with the situation.
I'm appealing to the RDA so that they quickly come in and work on this highway. My concern is that we've had lots of fatal accidents here, which is not it's not good at all, especially to the community, because as you can see, this is we have lots of shops just along the highway, and they usually witness the accidents that occur just right here.
The previous government had contracted Beautycon construction company to rehabilitate the greatest road from Sinjera to Wango Bridge, but the company has since abandoned the works, leaving the road in a bad state. Reporting in Rufunsa district, I'm Mseki Wandembe.
International and sports news coming through right after this commercial.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
On Monday, 20th June 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Honorable Elvis Nkandu, Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts. Don't miss as they discuss UPND 10 months of being in power.
As government through the ministry, we have demanded for a report from the service provider and we need a refund and underline, because as we are not wasted and payment for expenses suffered.
Invite others to participate through phoning, on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On TSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome back. Now getting into our international items. Tensions remain high in the border between the DRC and Rwanda after the death of Congolese soldier following an exchange of fire. According to witnesses, a Congolese soldier who was at the border crossed the neutral zone that separates the two border posts while firing in the direction of Rwanda. A Rwandan soldier returned fire, killing the Congolese soldier on the spot. In a statement, Rwanda confirmed that 2 of its soldiers were wounded in the exchange, as well as unspecified number of civilians present at the border. In other international news, South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal ruled this week that the government was wrong to ban the sale of cigarette at the start of the nationwide hard lockdown in March 2020. The court found that there was no scientific justification for the continued ban of the sale of tobacco products. Here's a roundup of international news.
Tensions remain high in the border between the DRC and Rwanda after the death of a Congolese soldier following an exchange of fire. According to witnesses, a Congolese soldier who was at the border crossed the neutral zone that separates the two border posts while firing in the direction of Rwanda. A Rwandan soldier returned the fire, killing the Congolese soldier on the spot. In a statement, Rwanda confirmed that 2 of its soldiers were wounded in the exchange, as well as an unspecified number of civilians present at the border.
South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal ruled this week that the government was wrong to ban the sale of cigarettes at the start of the nationwide hard lockdown in March 2020. The court found that there was no scientific justification for the continued ban on the sale of tobacco products. Tobacco businesses say they are still recovering from the losses they made during the cigarette ban.
It's easy to say, okay, I'm wrong. I accept that this thing happened. But what about the people that they suffered?
The main thing they say that tobacco or the industry of tobacco is non-essential. It's not important. So to be honest with you, it's important like the everything, like the food, like the drinking, like that, because the nicotine, everyone needs nicotine.
Tobacco sales were prohibited between 25 March and 17 August 2020 as part of the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. National Income Dynamics Coronavirus Rapid Mobile Survey suggests that during the time of the ban, between $300 million and $500 million was lost in excise taxes on tobacco products, while 300,000 jobs were lost.
Very wrong because
une-impact kwi-economy yethu la e-South Africa. And then be wrong yes ukuthi bawubhene because usaffectile singabantu ngayo le ndaba ye-economy.
The Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association had throughout the lockdown said that the ban on cigarette sales is enriching criminal syndicates. The association has also, like British American Tobacco, been legally challenging the ban on cigarettes.
That it comes a bit too late, and that this comes 2 years after the ban on the sale of cigarettes was put into place by government. And of course, this is something we had always stated was ill-advised, as it was not supported by science or any legal principles.
The government had argued that the use of tobacco products during the lockdown increased behavioral risks associated with the transmission of COVID-19, as some smokers shared lit cigarettes. Wandi Swanteng, Johannesburg, South Africa, Africa News.
We now get into sports news. The 2022 FIFA World Cup will be the biggest sporting event the Middle East has ever hosted, requiring a considerable security operation. Al Jazeera's correspondent Natasha Goneim looks at what is being done to ensure the region's first World Cup is held safely.
The festive mood of football fans on occasion devolves into tear gas, pepper spray, and arrests. As Qatar prepares to host an estimated 1 million fans for the first World Cup in the Middle East, security is paramount. The country's size, its first time hosting a mega sports event, and the compact nature of 8 stadiums present specific challenges. But the CEO of the International Center for Sport Security says Qatar has been preparing for more than a decade and has a track record of hosting smaller tournaments such as the Asian Cup.
I don't think we can state that the World Cup will happen in a country which is unprepared in managing, let's say, exceptional situations. And in my view, probably the successful element or the strength of Qatar is that the World Cup in Qatar is a part of a bigger, let's say, vision.
Qatar has been staging simulations and conducting training exercises for security forces. It's also partnering with countries including Britain, Spain, and Turkey to provide assistance ranging from crowd control to counter-terrorism measures. Turkey is sending a team of more than 2,200 people, including police officers and doctors.
Dünya Kupası kendi içinde zaten önemli bir aktivite.
The World Cup is a major event on its own, but having it for the first time in Qatar and in a Muslim country is a responsibility on top of that. Our president told us helping Qatar is like hosting your brother's wedding. This is how excited we are and how much we want to help.
A number of global safety indexes rank Qatar at the top. Last year, 200,000 fans attended the Arab FIFA Cup. It's considered a successful stress test for Qatar 2022. And there's hope that perhaps this November's World Cup will someday be a kind of dry run for hosting the Olympics. Natasha Ghanem, Al Jazeera, Doha.
Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. 14-month-old baby of LUSAKA'S MANDEVU compound goes missing without a trace. PF members of parliament challenge government to avail diversification plans for the mining sector. And Zambia's founding father, KK, remembered. In international news, Congolese soldier killed at the border with Rwanda. And in sports, FIFA World Cup, Qatar prepares to host estimated 1 million fans. Before we go, here's our Camnet face of the day. This is coming from the book of Isaiah 12, verse 2, and it reads, "Indeed, God is my salvation. I will trust in him and not be afraid. For Yah, the Lord, is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.